with my diagnosis stories and
Yes,
oh, hello.
we are live. I hope this works.
Yes.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Yay.
Yay, cool.
Okay. Hi, Monica. Hi again.
Hello, Veena again.
All right. So, hi, everybody. If people can see us, can hear us, are joining late because of the technical difficulties, let us know everything about it in the comments. Tell us where are you guys joining from, what is going on, and voila. Yes. All right. I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes just to see if there are people who are, joining in.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a couple of minutes and then we start.
And now we start our chat, our conversation. Yes.
A very fruitful and enriching conversation.
Fruitful and enriching. Yeah, that's a nice two words to
Yeah.
use. It's true. There's always to learn from one another. It's nice.
Our conversations at least I've had plenty takeaways. So
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's true. I mean,
going to definitely learn again.
and it's funny, despite I've been with this disease, living with this disease for so long, I was the first time we met. I remember you were talking about a few things from your scientific perspective, and I was like, oh man, I should be a little bit more careful. I should be a little bit more scientific in my approach. Look how many things she learned only in a couple of months, and look at me.
No.
So,
You helped me ease into the diagnosis, or else I would have gone crazy. Trust
yeah,
me.
that's true. We all have our different ways, aren't we? Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's true.
All right. I'm gonna start then. So, hi everybody. Just to tell you all about the diabetes workshop. So, Blue Circle Foundation has these workshops for diabetics and by diabetics every Sunday, and these are free workshops every Sunday, pretty much around 5 p.m. Today we are a bit late though. So the foundation has done over 200 workshops within the span of 3 to 4 years, which is
Wow.
a great achievement. And we've got to learn plenty things. They recently did an offline session where they had workshops in Pune and Bangalore. All the diabetics were together discussing stuff, how to help each other out, discussing all their experiences. So, today, again, we are going to do the same. Uh, of course, since this month is May and I'm sorry, March, and all this month there would be women-related approaches towards diabetes, and there would be workshops around those points, pretty much coming Sundays as well. So today we are going to talk about how do people can utilize sports, inculcate sports into their lives, and manage diabetes. So we're going to go with women winning with sports and diabetes.
Mm.
So right now here I have with me an amazing friend, Monica. So I'll start with the introduction, a bit
Yeah.
about me and how I met Monica, and how did we even think about doing something of this sort, and then I pass over to Monica. So, a bit about me. My name is Veena. Of course, people know it now. I'm a neuropsychologist. I have been type 1 diabetic for the past 4 years, and I got diagnosed when I moved to Brussels, that is in Belgium. Um, um, so when the doctor told me about this, I was looking for a community to get help from. Of course, I had already contacted Nupur, so I had a brief idea. But being in Brussels, I did not know where do you find things, how do you manage, what all things should be taken care of, and so on. So in a very panicky state, I put out the question on some random Facebook group saying, okay, I am diabetic and I genuinely need somebody to guide me and advise me on. And somebody pointed me out to Monica, and Monica graciously commented and helped me out quickly with everything to do with diabetes, and this positive attitude that she comes with every conversation. Because I used to bother her in the initial years a lot, like every other doubts that, okay, why does the insulin hurt so much, why, what do I do now, and at random times. But Monica, being herself as usual, she would always brighten up and be like, okay, you've got this, you can do this. So that's
Mhm.
how another woman helped me. And this is something very, very closer to my heart to talk about. I will let Monica tell us about herself, about what she does, how long have you had diabetes, and how was your diagnosis? What is the story around your diagnosis?
Right. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. First of all, I apologize for my video to be off. But this week I'm dealing with a viral infection, and I prefer to keep the video off as I'm not in my best shape physically. But yes, I am still motivated and very happy to be here. Um, so I remember exactly the story of meeting Veena, and that was so sweet. When was I diagnosed with diabetes? I have had diabetes for about 33 years. So since February 1991. And I was thinking that, strangely enough, I was also diagnosed while I was traveling, just like you, Veena. You were traveling to Brussels, and I
Yeah.
was traveling to the US. I was studying in the US in the high school. I won a scholarship when I was 16. And so I left at the age of 16, and while I was studying, I turned 17. And so, yeah, I was diagnosed in the US, and I was in Missouri. Missouri is a south center state of the US. It's very cowboys, cowgirls, very, very America, really America. And in fact, I was already living with diabetes for about 6 months without
Ah,
knowing. Yeah, without knowing that I had the disease, because the family that I was living with was not acquainted with diabetes. They could not read the signs of my behavior that were signs of a person that was sick. They sort of read it more as a kid who was spoiled and was difficult. So this is how they considered me, very spoiled and difficult. But in fact, I was just progressively sicker and sicker. And then I was very lucky. In my unlucky circumstances, I was very lucky because I moved for 1 week into another family, just temporarily, because that was part of the program. And I went into this really lovely family, and the father uh, was a doctor, and it took him 24 hours, less than 24 hours, for him to understand that I was not being spoiled and difficult. I was severely sick. So I had diabetes. But he didn't tell me, of course. So they rushed me to the hospital. Of course, lots of blood tests, and here we go. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I was hospitalized for 1 week. And yeah, so during that week, the one thing that I remember a few things in that week at the hospital. I was alone, but I was never alone in a way. You know, every day I was receiving flowers and cards and balloons, and a couple of school friends, they dress up as clowns and they show up at my room acting like clowns. So it was really interesting, really fun. But I was afraid. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on, and of course, so when you are with such a high blood sugar for many months, putting it down, it took few days. A
Right.
few days of consistent, every 3 hours, every 4 hours, I was given shot of insulin to put glycemia
Do you
down.
remember what was your HbA1c at that time, or your, I don't know, a range of blood sugars?
I remember that my blood sugar, like as when you check it, it was about 750, 780,
Oof.
something like that. And I think I was living with that for several months, with that high blood sugar, which of course created a lot of tiredness. I was sleeping a lot. It was a mix of sleeping and going into sort of fainting or passing out. Or I wouldn't say coma, because but I was passing out very often because I was exhausted.
Right.
And yeah, I would drink 6-7 liters of water a day. I would eat 2-3 whole pineapple by myself. I was starving. I was starving, and I was losing a lot of weight because
Right.
all the sugar was staying in the blood.
Of course, the classic signs.
Yeah, no, my cells were not getting any nutrients, anything,
Right.
nothing. So I kept on being hungry and thirsty all the time.
Oh,
And so the week at the hospital was very intense, because learning of this new condition, and me kept keeping on asking, but when do I stop? When does it go away? When is it solved, this thing? And I had the nurse telling me, no, listen, kid, this is not going over. This is what you get. You need to learn to live with it. I was like, yeah, but when is it over? You know, when you dismiss me
of
and it's
course.
over, I go back to be myself. And she was like, you're still yourself, but you're going to have to learn with this thing. And I was like, I don't think so. It was in total denial at the beginning,
Of
of
course.
course. And then part of the program in the US of dealing with because I was considered still I was a teenager. So part of dealing with teenagers and this sort of lifelong diseases, they wanted me to know everything about diabetes. So what they did was every other day, they were inviting a person that had type 1 diabetes and that could share with me a positive story of their
Okay.
lives. And that was really important, because I could really touch and talk to these people. And so one morning, I saw walking in this mom. I didn't know it was a mom, but this woman with a couple of toddlers. And I was like, yeah, can I help you? I was like, what are you doing here? And then the nurse told me, I'm going to give you half an hour to chat. And I don't remember her name anymore, but basically this very kind woman told me, hey, look, I've had type 1 diabetes since I was a kid, but my dream was to be a mother, and I have 3 kids, and this is possible if you look after yourself, if you keep your blood sugar under control, you can still have a baby, not 1, but even 3. And so she made me understand you can still have a normal life, you can be a mother, you can be, diabetes is not a blockage. It won't stop you from achieving this results if this is your goal, if this is what you feel you should be and you should become.
Right.
And of course, at the age of 17, that was not even in my remote desires or plans, but I was quite grateful to have talked to her.
Yeah.
A
I mean,
couple.
it's the panic, right? Like, as soon as you get diagnosed, rather than worrying about what will you do tomorrow, it's this future panic that,
Yeah.
okay, will I be
Yes.
able to do this? Will I have a successful career? Will I
Yes.
have kids? Will I have a family?
Yeah.
Lot of
Yes.
questions, lot of questions. I
Yeah.
and I think it's extremely important, because of course you can manage the immediate things that your body goes through, you can manage that sort of, but when you have to have a sight of the future at such points, and
Yeah.
such encounters validates the need to have a sight of future, that okay, I can do it.
Absolutely. In fact, it made me feel like, oh, all right. So I'm just as I'm normal. Like nothing has been taken away from me. In fact, And then the other great encounter I had was with this young woman. She was in her 20s, and she was an Olympic volleyball player.
Wow.
And it was like, oh my god, she was stunning, beautiful. She came in, um, in her sports outfit, and she told me all about her sports, her life sports, and the Olympic Games and the challenges, and the fact that the team was always supporting her, that everybody around her knew that she was type 1 diabetic, so that if ever she needed something, everybody was creating this circle for supporting her. And the diabetes never ever sort of stopped her from achieving this amazing goal of being an Olympic volleyball
Wow.
team. And it's amazing. So another thing that sort of it's another door that opened in my mind. It was like, okay, I can also do that. I don't have to be perfect to be able to do sports or to be able to achieve something. And that was a great technique that the hospital used with me, and I suppose with
Wow.
any other people. Just talking to people that had achieved something positive in their lives despite the cohabitation, let's say,
Yeah.
with diabetes. And then on the other side, they only showed me video cartoons of
Mhm.
the negative things that might happen in my life if I don't look after myself properly. So I could see sort of cartoons of people having sight problems or being amputated in their limbs and the legs and the feet and the
Right.
toes, whatever. And so, it was like, oh, okay, also this could happen. But I did not meet anyone in real life with
Right.
any of these issues. They wanted me to touch base, to see and talk to people that had great experiences with diabetes. But I also didn't want to tell me there's something else if if you don't if you don't look after yourself properly.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so I've got these two options. These two options are available, and it's
Yeah.
my choice. It's my choice. It's down to me.
Yeah.
And I think that is very empowering.
Yeah, because often with such with such diagnosis, you sort of lose also the control, and you think
Mm.
that, okay, I don't have this under my control. I no longer have uh, uh, the reins of my own life. Is this going to consume me? Is this going to take away something, like a part of myself? And will I not ever feel sort of normal? But such positive encounters, such positive little changes, let's say,
Yeah.
right at the diagnosis, sort of strengthens you how you deal with diabetes, even though very small. Just replacing people with cartoons to show you, okay, that it can have a negative impact, made
Yes.
you more. It made it more easier for you to comprehend rather than being scared of, okay, no, this
Exactly.
is going to be so
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't about terrorizing me, but it was about this is an option available, but
Yeah.
everything depends on your choices. And so it came very straight directly down to me to understand that it's my choice. It's my choice.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that that's also quite empowering, because it's not diabetes that manages my life. I manage
Absolutely.
diabetes, so it's my choice.
Right.
So I think that is really essential to always, you hold the rein, as you said, of this horse, and you direct it and you choose where to go.
Right. So now you've had it since you were 17 years old. It's been
Yes.
over 30 years that you have
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
So how did you cope with it then, and how do you cope with it now? When I mean then, I want to know, how did you cope with it in the initial years? When you have the teens, you have the
Yes.
rebel, when you have the early zest towards life in the 20s, and then when you mellow down towards understanding yourself, finding more time with yourself, which is now.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how did you manage both the parts? Like, I would like to know your experience then and now as well.
Yes, yes. Well, of course, 33 years ago, we didn't have the level of technology we have today. So I think that being diagnosed today, you're already given an amazing sets of technological advanced tools that make your life much easier, and it's so much easier to adapt and to adjust to diabetes. At that time, I didn't have any pen or pump, so I had a proper syringe. My insulin was in a glass bottle that I had to
Right.
disinfect every time. So I had to walk around with needles and syringes, which was considered terrifying and scary. And also, I was considered a drug addict most of the time, especially if you go in a restaurant and you hide in the toilet to do your shot of insulin, and then people enter. And of course, they only see the needle.
Yeah.
They don't see anything else, right? So they only see the needle, and needle is equal drug. So very often I was I was considered like a drug addict. So I started to say, you know what, hell to this, I'm not hiding in the toilet anymore. I'm just going to do my insulin at the table, at the dinner table. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to see what people come to me and tell me if they see me with my friends or my family injecting me,
That's kind
so
of courage. And how old were you,
I,
if you don't mind?
that started already in the US, so I was still 17 years old, and then 18 years old, 19, and then I
You
think
decided to just do it in public. You're like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
wow,
Yes, I was doing it in
that's
public, and actually I was like, hey,
courage.
people, look at me,
Yeah.
this is what I'm doing. This is my life. So I
Mm.
sort of pushed the diabetes. Instead of hiding it, I was almost in a little bit of moment of rebellious attitude. I was like putting it out on people's face. This is who I am, whether you like it or not.
You should
There's
be
no
an
option.
inspiration, for the youngsters that may have joined the talk right now, that you don't have to scare away. You don't have to hide your insulin pump, or hide your
No, no,
batches or anything.
absolutely not. Absolutely
Wow.
not.
I
So
think then this year was what, 19, what was that? When you started doing it in public.
I
Um,
I was 17 already. I was 17 years. So it's 33 years ago. So
yeah.
yeah. What was
No, like what year was it? 1985? Like, I don't know. I'm just
1991, 1991,
ah
1992. Yeah, 91, 92. Yes, it was
wow.
that time. Yes,
Wow,
yes.
because I'm sure nobody would have, like, I know there are people right now who may know something about diabetes, who may at least have some curiosity, but that time I'm sure
At that
people
time,
must
no,
have,
not at all. I
oh
mean,
my,
right now you say
wow.
diabetes, and
Yeah,
oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's so much more sort of. It's a topic that it's been discussed so
yeah,
long. It's so much, and there's a lot more people with diabetes now than 30 years ago.
right.
And also, the machine I had to check my blood sugar was a huge machine. Take the size of
Oh,
your hand, the size of your hand from the wrist to the middle finger. It's a huge
wow.
machine. Yes, and it took like a minute and a half to read my blood sugar, and then that was it. It was like 82, 160, 199, 200, but you didn't know the direction. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it stable?
Um,
So I was like, all right, so what do I do with this number now? you know
yeah.
so it was. And also another thing that was very different then from now, it was doctors were wanted you to put you in a sort of a rigid lifestyle. Like you always eat the same food, you always eat at the same time, you always eat the same amount of carbs, protein, and veggies. So there was this sort of rigidity, because they thought that if you always keep things the same, there are higher chances that you will hit the target of the blood sugar.
Hmm.
Which then, in the 30 years that followed, we understood that it was not like that
Right.
whatever magic thing you do today that makes your blood sugar great will not exactly work the same magic tomorrow,
Yeah.
because you as a person change, your mood, your hormones as a woman, your stress level, everything influences the blood sugar, not just the amount of food and at the time you eat it. So that was a huge difference. And it took me a while to sort of adapt to that, because being trained at 17, always eat at the same time, always do the same things, always inject the same amount of insulin, it took me a moment to adjust to all the changes. But then I saw, and I remember my uncle came to see me in the US. He's a pediatrician, so he came to see me, and then he looked at me once and he said, "Don't worry, Monica, you'll get rid of this." It was like, science, it's so fierce in trying to find solutions to this disease, that things will get better. And they did. In fact, they did tremendously, because a few years later I had the pen, the first
Yes.
one. And the first pen was a magic thing for me. It was such a great gift. And I still use the pen. I never shifted to pumps. And then the glucometer were much smaller, much faster, much easier. You could hide them. You could carry it with you. You could do everything with it, So I noticed an immense change. And then a few years back, now we have this glucose monitoring system, attached to our body, that talks to our phones, and that makes these last discoveries have made the management of diabetes and living with diabetes unbelievably easier. You could say almost, I can do anything. I can do anything. You always have that continuous monitoring system that sort of provides a good feedback, and it's great. So you can really, so it has changed a lot, and it has changed also the mentality of the doctors, at least in Europe. They would tell you, rather than do always the same thing. I remember my doctor always tells me, you do your life, do the things you want to do, live the life you want to live. Diabetes will adapt. It will adapt to your needs. It will adapt to your requests. It will adapt to your desires, to your plans. And then you have to be, of course, it will adapt if you also have that flexible mind to be able to adapt.
Right.
So adapt so it has been a huge change in the last 30 years. So one last thing, I believe that between now and in 30 years, if the trends goes on like this, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we would find complete solutions to it. Real serious solutions to the diabetes issue, program or problems, whatever it's I wouldn't be surprised. Probably I will not be the one that will live through them, but I'm quite, I trust that the changes will be still incredibly astonishing. So you will probably go through them and enjoy them.
I hope so, because when you say these stories about the syringe and having a device to check your like the glucometer the size of the palm, even my mobile phone is not the size of my palm.
Exactly.
It just amazes me. Like, wait, this was in 1990 when people were doing that? Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was never introduced to syringes, right? I started just right with the pen. So
With the pen.
for me, that sort of concept of syringe is still alien. Like, I see it, but I don't believe it. Like, does this whole thing go inside you?
Yes.
Exactly. But no, I mean, each to its own. Whatever works. But I am hoping. Like, I like your zest that okay, science will do it, which I believe truly with all my heart, that it is going to come up with something that is going to be the right, if not right, but a good way to find balance in life. So my next thought here is, how in the middle of all of this, how did you motivate yourself to begin with sports or to begin with meditation, finding some combination or balance here?
Yes. So we have to again go back to my diagnosis time. when I was diagnosed, the American doctor, they considered me depleted, and they thought that I was extremely skinny, and so they gave me a very caloric diet. So this 2,000 calories diet, and they gave me quite a high doses of insulin. So, and because of the inability to be flexible and to change neither the doses of insulin nor the type and quantity of food, I was I gained in 6 months 30 kilos. So every month I would gain 5 kilos, which is basically a full a size in clothes, in a full size. Yes. So I went from weighing 50 kilos to weight 80 kilos, which is a huge amount of kilos.
Wow.
30 kilos. And so when I went back home, my parents could not even recognize me when I came out of the airplane. My father, remember, stopped in front of me, sort of looked at me, and was like, "Oh, I sort of know this person. You look like my daughter, Monica, but who are you?" So like, where is Monica? And I was like, "Hello, I'm in front of you." But to be honest, the whole insulin that I injected, and the 2,000 calories plus all the hypoglycemias, because I was injecting too much.
Yeah.
So I kept on eating sugar to put my blood sugar high. And then also there, they didn't explain me, hey, instead of eating a donut to take care of your low blood sugar, just drink a juice. They would give me like a donut or a full Coke. Or so I kept on adding calories to my already very highly caloric diet. So no wonder that in 6 months I gained 30 kilos.
Yeah.
Now the problem was how to lose all this weight, because
Right.
I did not recognize myself. Not only I had diabetes, I also came back with 30 kilos, so for a teenager girl having to go back to school in Italy with diabetes and 30 kilos, it was pretty much of a tragedy. I don't know if you if you can relate to anything like this, but I hope somebody can understand me, and I hope nobody's living this kind of trauma at school. It was a little bit challenging. So that was motivation number one. I had to go back to who I was physically. Then it took me, then with the help of my mother and also the help of the doctor in Italy, which were less narrow-minded and more flexible. They helped me and they told me, you can change the doses of insulin. If I tell you to inject 10 units, but you see that it's too much, you can reduce it. So slowly I got to this idea of being flexible with the doses of insulin, which was something that I was not able to do in the US because I wasn't told. Was told this is what you inject, full stop. And so it's it helped me to go back to sports. But to be honest, even before diabetes, I was pretty sportive. I was doing fencing at national level. I was competing in fencing. I was swimming a lot. I was also in the US before being diagnosed. I was doing track running, so I was running in the forest. So it was really, really. I was always active. And the fact, once the doctor made me understand that if I do sports, I will be able to burn sugar naturally, and so I will be more prone to reduce the doses of insulin. So for me, sports became my second insulin.
Nice.
It's because, and then also understanding how my body reacts to the sports, how you keep on burning sugar hours after you do your run or you do your swim or you do your sports activity. So it was great. It was great to understand that. So I would always include an hour and a half of any kind of sports in my day, in my routine. And then that became part of me. I never really did sports to compete necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
um, but it was a way to make me feel good. The endorphin of the sports is amazing sensation. Achieving small goals, like achieving, if you're swimming, you want to be faster. So I was giving myself these little goals to achieve. Or if I'm
Right.
running, I want to run longer, or faster, depending. But I'm not a sprinter, so longer was good enough for me. So in fact, for running, my goal was to run a marathon or a half marathon, which then I did, in fact. So that was always at the base. That was always like, if you have a sandwich, you need to have bread, right? So that was the
Yeah.
bread. Sports, it was always there. And then what you put in the sandwich, then it changes, but the bread must be there, otherwise you don't have a sandwich. So
Yeah.
sports is my bread, sort of, in dealing
Yeah.
with diabetes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is also one of the initial problem that you deal with diabetes is before the diagnosis you've already lost plenty weight, and now you're too worried that will you ever regain that weight, and suddenly you see
Mm.
yourself having that sort of control on diabetes and regaining the weight, but also adding unnecessary calories because
Mm.
like you said that the doctors didn't tell you about what to do when you get a low hypoglycemia. They asked you to have a donut. When I was diagnosed, they told me that okay, you should have half a bottle of Coke,
Mm.
the one with the sugar, and I did that. I did
Mm.
that for a month or two religiously. Like, okay, I'm
Mm.
gonna do this, and then I started noticing a pattern. I started gaining weight in my belly for no
Mm.
reason, and that's not a tendency that my body has usually. I gained my weight in the initial 3 months very quickly. I was thorough and nice, but then I started some unnecessary weight gain, and I sort of started questioning a lot of stuff that the doctors told me, especially with the Coke, other than maintaining the same insulin doses. And that's when I started asking the community and everybody, like, okay, what do I do? And they were like, yes, you need to have juice, but you should always even measure the juice, that you should have
Mm.
a measured
Yes.
amount of glucose tabs, and you should have also a measured amount of juice, because when you go hypo, you lose sight of
Yes.
what is there, sort of gulp
Yes.
it down. You're too busy to get yourself back in the uh,
Yeah.
range.
Yes.
So yeah, I
Yes.
sort of relate to that so much, and I also relate to this point that um, it's obvious to worry about whether you will gain weight or not, but we lose focus that more than the weight gain, the weight gain is a byproduct of keeping the sugars in control. So if your
Mm.
focus is more on keeping your sugars in control, you will naturally and obviously gain your lost weight, which is
Mm.
sort of which is sort of a takeaway for me when I was diagnosed and still figuring things out. And then it's all about sustaining, just
Mm.
sustaining in the same weight. Like you said, that for you it's the endurance, keeping the walks, the running longer, swimming faster, giving those small achievable goals rather than
Yeah.
achieving for something out of the box, because
Yeah.
sports should not be this complex, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what do you recommend? Like you got the goal that okay, you wanted to lose weight. That was your goal. But how did you start? How did you begin with? Did you do it with someone, or you thought about, okay, I'm gonna just get up and go?
Because I've had diabetes for so long, there's always different phases of my life. So at the very beginning, I was doing sports at school, and I remember I was because I was ashamed of myself. I wouldn't feel comfortable going out and show my body, show myself. My parents bought a stationary bicycle, and I was doing the stationary bicycle at home. for several months, for a long time. And then once I started university, I met a friend with whom I studied the whole 5 years, and together we were going to run on the on the camp of the university. So we would run together, and then I remember, and then we would go to the gym together. So I had this friend that was always there supporting me, and we would do things together. And then another phase of my life started. I moved to Brussels and I started to find a job. So I needed to do things by myself that time. So I found a gym because, as you know very well, Brussels weather sucks. And so outdoor sports is something you can do only for a few months a year. So you need to do everything indoors. So yeah, the gym started to become a part of my activity. And of course, as all young 25, 30 years old women, we only do cardio. So so I was doing that, and I was boring myself to death, but I would do it. I would do it absolutely, at least minimum 3 times a week. And then I met my husband, who actually I met in the gym.
Okay.
And he's also pretty mandukasana. He was pretty sportive as well. So we started to run together, to cycle together, to do things together, and that was fun, of course. And then I started to travel with my husband when he was moved from country to country. And so every time I was relocating to a different country, it was always the same stories. First, you start in the gym. Then you get to know people in the gym environment, and then you propose other things, and then depending on the weather, you do things outdoors, indoors, outdoors, indoors. So yoga came a little later in my life. Actually, no, yoga came at the age of 18, but then I stopped it, and then I met again yoga when I was living in London in 2009, and I signed up for a yoga class because I was sad that day. I was very sad, so I went to do a yoga class, and then I basically met a new family, and I connected to this group of people who then became my people in the UK, my group of people, and then yoga became sort of part of my life, complete part of my life. So it was great. Yoga helped me tremendously a lot. Not as much as in lowering the blood sugar as would do running or cycling, but in having that quiet and peaceful mindset, having a connection to my body, developing that mindfulness, the awareness towards what do I need to do, how do I want to do things. So that yoga was a great support from that perspective. In fact, I still do it, and I still practice it, and I still I end up by teaching also yoga here, and that is why I keep on traveling to India to meet my teacher and to improve and deepen my practice. So yoga has become an essential tool of, I would say, managing my blood sugar. Yoga, and together with yoga, then I started like everyone else with the asana practice, and then I shifted into the meditation a bit more than I used to, and it's great, and it's great. It's a great song.
Would you like to take the question from Pratik? Do you see that he's asking, are there any yoga postures?
Posture, would you suggest that specifically targets the pancreas? I know that there are a few yoga postures, but I've never really only focused on one or two asanas. I include them maybe in my practice, but I move the body in all directions. So because I think that the asanas, they massage the body internally. So however, whichever asana you do, you're still giving a good internal massage to your body. So if he thinks that Mandukasana and Vakrasana are good asanas for him, it's a him, right?
Yeah.
So that's great. But anyway, the yoga practice should be done in whole its entirety, like not just one or two asanas, but the whole sequence. A whole sequence of yogasanas are beneficial for the body.
Yeah. Do you also see Lynn has shared her experience where
Yeah.
her story is also similar to you?
Uh,
Um, and that now she is working with about 25,000 people who are living with diabetes, and she's a diabetes advocate in South Africa.
that's great.
Wow, wow. This community brings up a lot of
It's
people
great.
together. Wow, I think that is super
Yes.
amazing. Very, very inspiring.
I would
Wow.
like to say one thing that I remember when we spoke, Veena, last week, we were talking about diabetes being a tap in your life, in my,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And that made me think of like, and you asked me if that tap was, what position do I give to that? And if that always,
Yeah. Shall I give a little context?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So we were talking about how diabetes, imagine you have a browser in your head and that there are multiple tabs, just like you open up in your computer. And diabetes is one tab that you can just never close.
Never
And
close.
sometimes it is so exhausting where you want
Mm,
to take a vacation, but diabetes, you take vacation from work, you can take vacation from anything that is
yeah,
bothering you, but
yeah.
diabetes, it's just stuck to you. So my question to Monica was, how do you manage to keep it? Where do you keep that tab, and do you ever
Yeah.
plan to close it? What do you do with it?
Yeah, yeah, and I was thinking about this question, and the top is always open, as you said,
Yeah,
but I'm not that top.
yeah,
And this is something that you made me think, and you made me go back in time. And I remember speaking. I think I was speaking to a coach
yeah.
because I did a degree or a certification in life coaching about 10 years ago. And this woman told me, you are not diabetic, you have diabetes. And this
Wow.
is, it's a huge thing to speak the way you speak about yourself and you present yourself to the other. So I am not diabetic, I have diabetes.
Yeah,
You don't want to, you don't want to, you, it's as simple as this. I have diabetes. It's something with, I live with diabetes. Monica is not diabetes.
yeah. Like you cannot surround your whole identity around
Exactly.
it. You have like when you want to introduce yourself, you can talk about your hobbies or what are you known for. That I am known for being kind, or I'm known for being
Yeah. Yes.
intelligent. I'm known for being a yoga practitioner, and so on. But I also have diabetes. It
Have
cannot be the only
diabetes.
identity to be uh, known with or recognized with, I think.
Yeah, and it's very important because
Yeah,
this
that's so
distinction
powerful.
makes you understand that you can be whoever you want. You can do whatever you want because you have diabetes. You're not diabetic. And because it's, if you think I have diabetes already, you give yourself a limit, you put yourself into a box, you give yourself a limited amount of space to be yourself.
Yeah,
Whereas I have diabetes and I can do whatever I want with my life. I can become whoever I want. I can study whatever I want. I can do any sports I want. I can dress however I want. I can travel wherever I want because it's something that I have with me, and I am not that person. So it's like it's a subtle difference, because but for me it made a huge difference for me to decide that, and it took me a while to actually change the way I present myself.
right.
And I talk about it because it's so much easier to say, well, in English you say I have diabetes, you don't say I am diabetic.
Yeah,
Yeah. But in Italian, depending which language, in Italian or in French, you would say je suis diabétique or I
um,
sono diabetica. It's more related to the verb to be, connected.
yeah,
No? So it is, and So you sort of glue yourself to this disease, but you're not a disease. You are a
Yeah.
person with a disease, which gives you a lot more freedom to move.
Yeah.
And so relating myself to the tab is there, but I'm not that tab, so I can always switch and change and change and change and open a new one, open a new one, open a new one, and have another experience and another experience and another experience. So the only time I thought I was not able to do something was when I spoke to a person who was a scuba diver, and I was like, oh my god, I cannot ever be doing scuba diving. I am diabetic. I was like, oh no, I have diabetes. And she said, hell no, you can do scuba diving. She was telling me I have diabetes and I'm a scuba diver instructor. I was like, and how do you do with your hypoglycemia? I was like, you learn to drink your juice underwater. I was like, all right. That shocked me, but yeah, so it's really, I think it's important to understand that diabetes does not limit our choices and our lives in any way.
That's such a perspective. Like, I've spoken about this before as well, about positive affirmations and how it sort of changes the way you look yourself.
Yeah,
But this can be like one of the positive affirmation that this is, I have it, but it's not
yeah,
me. It's
yeah,
not my
exactly.
entire identity. I am beyond this. I am beautiful. I am kind, and so many other things. But it's there. I recognize it exists, but that is just not going to be my entire personality.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow, wow. That's
yeah,
that's very refreshing perspective. And to remind yourself about this, that you can have multiple tabs and it can be just different every time, and that you can switch. That
yes,
gives you amazing amount of freedom to deal with
freedom,
diabetes.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's very important. We have a question from Usha. I think she's asking what is the difference between Mandukasan and Vakrasan, if I'm saying it correct.
Mandukasan and Vakrasan. What's
Yeah.
the difference? To be honest, I'm not sure. I would have to check them because I know a lot of names of asanas, but these two are sort of not in my right now. I don't,
Sure.
I don't remember. But I think somebody is answering that, isn't it?
I think so, but I don't know. But it's okay. Maybe we can take it up some other time.
Yeah,
Um, so I see we have a few more minutes left, and I don't want to end it abruptly. I want one more last question that I have to ask you, because since you told me that you have traveled and changed your places so many times, because
yeah,
and handled diabetes all that while
yeah.
as well. My question is, how do you manage this with travel? How do you manage it, especially with vacations? Were you hesitant to plan travel because of diabetes?
No, never, ever. No, ever, ever. Absolutely. I've traveled everywhere from South America to the US to Japan to China to India to everywhere. And I relocated many times in many different places. Um, no, I don't. You know, it, you can organize a trip sightseeing, and there you go, you've got your 10 kilometers of walk every day, watching things and visiting. If it's a city that you want to go and see the the architecture or whatever is the city is offering. When I come to India, I come always mostly for yoga practice. So this is my sport. In fact, the yoga practice. When I'm in India, I don't do anything else. I just practice yoga, and that is plenty because it's morning and afternoon, so it's pretty intense. Otherwise, I always have a pair of running shoes or. Yeah, so it's always, you can always go for a walk or a run or a jog. There's no reason really not to do anything. You can always include sports activities and movement in your daily life. And if not, I remember during the winter I was going to see my parents-in-law, and they're live in a very cold and snowy place, and I brought with me resistance bands.
Right.
And with the resistance bands, I was doing my training in the living room. I was hopping, jumping, or squatting, lunging, planking, everything that would help me to move. I do high intensity interval training, so you take 5 exercises with a few of burpees and squats and lunges, and yeah, so you've got your 30 minutes practice. And here we go. Resistance bands, they take no space in your suitcase, but they can give you so much more creativity in your own workout. So
Right.
yeah,
You don't
no,
need fancy equipments to begin. You can
no,
just
no, you don't need
have
any
a pair of
fancy
shoes to
equipment.
run, or
Yeah.
a circuit in mind of five or six exercises, and just repeat that, and you're good to go, I think.
Yes, absolutely, you
Nice.
can. Yes,
All
it's.
right. That that
Uh,
that has been amazing, amazing, like an eye-opening conversation for me, because,
Thank you,
well,
Veena.
given that the Brussels is bringing the life out of me, it's fucking it up. This conversation is putting that life back, that okay, I can do it. I can sort of motivate myself and run to the gym, or at least go outside and just take a run. It's not raining at the moment.
Yes, but also
So
there's so many application that you can use to motivate
yeah,
yourself. There's also a lot out there,
yeah, yeah.
really.
That's for sure. So, just trying to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you to the foundation for inviting us, for
Yes.
having both of us, and thanks to Monica for being here despite being ill and giving all yourself, being present, talking to us about this experience with all your heart. I am really, really grateful to you for this.
Thank you so much for giving.
But just one takeaway, at least for me, would be from this conversation when you said that sports became your second insulin. I think I'm going to write it somewhere and just keep it in my sight. Whenever I feel like, okay, I cannot get up for a gym, I think that line is just going to
Yeah.
push me out of bed.
Yes.
It is so important to see it in a way that it's not something that is boring, or something
No.
that just you have to do it. No, it's not something mandatory or obligatory. It's like giving you life. It's giving you
Yeah.
more chances at life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What would be your takeaway message from this?
I'm. It's interesting how I hope that people have taken something from this conversation. That's very. If I wish I had things like this when I was diagnosed, and I could have also listened to people with experience to share. I think this kind of activities is fundamental to support people in their journey with diabetes. So I'm very grateful that you guys are working with this and for this and for people with diabetes to learn and to appreciate that it's not just a disease, a negative disease. It's something that we can learn a lot from each other and support each other. So that is a great to be part of this.
All right. I
Thank
am
you.
really glad. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who have joined us. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, let us know. Maybe just comment hi or anything. Of course, it would be lovely to have more on this. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna wait a couple minutes to see if we
Yeah,
have
there
questions.
is a lean that said, unfortunately, for elderly people, yoga is not advisable. It could do more harm than good. So for them, 30 minutes walking. Of course, yoga is what helps me right now. And then yoga is also helped me from a meditation point of view, just to keep my mind at peace and to always have that good attitude to deal with diabetes. Yoga can be done also. My mom is 76 and she is practicing a very gentle yoga, and which is doable. You don't have to do acrobatic yoga. Yoga can be done in different levels and a different intensity. So I've taught yoga to a woman that just had a stroke, and she was barely able to sit or to be standing. So you can find ways to practice yoga, but it's more the connective connecting to your own self and to keep your mind calm. That is very important to deal with a lifelong disease. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. That's amazing. So, well, we have to end the conversation here, but we would keep in touch. Of course, we can have more
Of course.
such workshops and sessions ahead. So, yeah, I'm going to say bye to everybody. And again, thanks once again, Monica, and thanks to the foundation too.
Thank you, Veena, and thank you for the foundation. Yes. Have a lovely
Yeah.
afternoon. Bye. Or evening.
Bye.
Evening.
Oh,
Bye.
yeah, evening in India, of course.
Yes.